Episode 8: Strategic Manipulation: Shaping Reality Without Force. If behavior depends on how reality is perceived, then shaping perception becomes a means to influence action without direct force. This is where strategic manipulation comes in, enabling individuals to shape their own perceptions and behaviors by structuring information processing and interpretation. By doing so, individuals can be guided towards desired outcomes. For instance, consider a company that wants to increase sales of a new product. Rather than using coercion or straightforward advertising, it might craft a narrative around the product's benefits, highlighting how it solves a specific problem or improves daily life. This narrative becomes the framework through which customers process information about the product, making them more likely to consider purchasing it. Strategic manipulation can also involve shaping incentives and available choices by structuring the environment in such a way that desired outcomes become more likely. For instance, a government might introduce policies that make it easier for businesses to operate in certain areas, creating an incentive for entrepreneurs to invest there. Alternatively, a company might create a limited-time offer or loyalty program to encourage customers to make repeat purchases. In both cases, the goal is not to force behavior but to influence action without direct force. Another key aspect of strategic manipulation is its reliance on subtle cues and signals that can influence perceptions and behaviors without individuals realizing it. These cues can be as simple as the colors used in a logo or the font style employed in an advertisement. Research has shown that people are highly susceptible to these kinds of cues, which can shape reality. For example, a study found that when a product is packaged in a color associated with warmth, such as orange or red, consumers are more likely to perceive it as high quality and trustworthy. This highlights the importance of considering subtle cues when shaping reality. Strategic manipulation is not limited to commercial or political contexts alone. Rather, it can be observed in all areas of life, from social media profiles to policy framing. In each case, the goal is to shape reality in a way that produces desired outcomes without relying on direct force. This is why understanding strategic manipulation is crucial for anyone seeking to navigate or influence complex systems. By recognizing how reality is being structured and manipulated, we can better anticipate and respond to others' actions, ultimately gaining a deeper understanding of the world around us. As we delve deeper into this topic, it's essential to acknowledge that strategic manipulation is not inherently good or bad. Its morality depends on intentions and motivations. By understanding how strategic manipulation works, we can begin to develop strategies for promoting transparency, accountability, and ethical decision-making in all areas of life. This cognitive limitation is a fundamental aspect of complex systems themselves, rather than just a peculiarity of individual human psychology. When information is incomplete or filtered, actors within the system must rely on simplifications, abstractions, and models to make decisions, a phenomenon where strategic manipulation often comes into play. By structuring available choices, incentives, and narratives, power can shape the very framework through which reality is perceived. Moreover, this form of meta-influence operates at a level above direct force or coercion. Consider how social media platforms have become adept at manipulating our perceptions of reality by curating feeds with specific content, influencing what we see and don't, effectively shaping the narrative that underlies our decisions. This is not necessarily malicious, it's simply an example of strategic manipulation in action. Similarly, governments can use propaganda and public relations to shape public opinion on key issues, while corporations might employ marketing strategies to create demand for their products. In fact, strategic manipulation isn't about deceiving or manipulating others through overt means, although those tactics may be employed as well. Rather, it's about understanding the underlying constraints and biases that influence decision-making, then using that knowledge to shape the framework within which decisions are made. By doing so, power can nudge behavior in desired directions without resorting to direct force or coercion. So, what does this mean for our understanding of power politics? It means we must look beyond the obvious levers of control, such as money, guns, and ideology, and instead focus on the more subtle mechanisms that shape reality. Furthermore, by recognizing how strategic manipulation operates within complex systems, we can begin to develop strategies for promoting transparency, accountability, and ethical decision-making in all areas of life. This is not a call for naive optimism or a rejection of the importance of power. Rather, it's an acknowledgement that power can be exercised in ways that are both effective and just. As we delve deeper into strategic manipulation, it becomes clear that grasping its mechanisms is crucial for comprehending power politics. Moreover, recognizing how reality is shaped through subtle control over perception, incentives, and available choices has far-reaching implications. This suggests that power is not solely a product of coercion or persuasion but rather an intricate dance between individuals, organizations, and the constraints they face. By acknowledging the role of cognitive limitations in shaping behavior, we can begin to appreciate how strategic manipulation operates as indirect control. In this context, information becomes a critical resource for exercising power, not just any information, but that which is carefully curated, framed, and disseminated to influence perceptions and shape decisions. This is where the concept of narrative comes into play, the stories we tell ourselves and others about the world around us. Narratives can be powerful tools for shaping reality, providing a framework for making sense of complex events and guiding our actions accordingly. The far-reaching implications of strategic manipulation extend beyond politics to encompass all areas of life where power is exercised. In this sense, understanding how reality is shaped through subtle control becomes essential for promoting transparency, accountability, and ethical decision-making. Moreover, recognizing the ways in which power can be exercised without direct force enables us to develop strategies that prioritize fairness, justice, and the well-being of all individuals involved. Moreover, acknowledging the role of strategic manipulation in shaping reality highlights the importance of critical thinking and media literacy. In an era where information is readily available but often distorted or misleading, it's crucial that individuals possess the skills to discern fact from fiction and evaluate the credibility of sources. This requires a deep understanding of how narratives are constructed and used to manipulate public opinion. Furthermore, recognizing the mechanisms of strategic manipulation offers a nuanced perspective on power politics, one that acknowledges both its potential for abuse and capacity for positive change. Ultimately, by grasping the subtleties of indirect control, we can develop more effective strategies for promoting justice, equality, and human flourishing in all aspects of life, ultimately leading us to re-examine our understanding of power dynamics. As we delve deeper into the realm of strategic manipulation, it's essential to recognize that our understanding of reality is inherently social. We don't perceive the world through a vacuum. Instead, our cognition is shaped by cultural, historical, and institutional contexts, which underscores the importance of considering these factors in our analysis. This means that power can be exercised not only through direct coercion but also by influencing the frameworks through which people make sense of their environment, ultimately affecting how they form opinions or take actions. Think about it. How often do you form opinions or take actions based on what others tell you? How frequently do you rely on trusted sources to inform your decisions? This is where strategic manipulation comes in, the art of subtly shaping our perceptions, biases, and choices without resorting to direct force. It's not about deceiving people outright. Rather, it's about creating an environment where certain narratives, ideas, or options become more appealing than others. By doing so, power can be exercised indirectly, often without individuals realizing they're being influenced. Moreover, this concept is closely tied to the role of framing in shaping public opinion, which highlights the significance of effective communication strategies in politics. A well-crafted narrative can make a particular policy or issue seem more or less appealing by emphasizing certain aspects while downplaying others. Effective communication strategies are crucial in politics, not just to convey information but also to shape people's thinking and response to that information, ultimately influencing the outcome of decisions. Moreover, strategic manipulation can occur at multiple levels. On an individual level, it's about influencing someone's decision-making process through subtle cues or biases. On a larger scale, it's about shaping public discourse and creating an environment where certain ideas or policies become more acceptable than others. This dual approach aims to create a reality that reinforces one's own interests or values without necessarily resorting to direct coercion. Ultimately, recognizing the mechanisms of strategic manipulation offers a nuanced perspective on power politics, one that acknowledges both its potential for abuse and its capacity for positive change. By grasping the subtleties of indirect control, we can begin to develop more effective strategies for promoting justice, equality, and human flourishing in all aspects of life. As we delve into the realm of strategic manipulation, it's essential to acknowledge that this form of power has been employed throughout history by various actors, from politicians and business leaders to social movements and revolutionary groups. This historical context is crucial for understanding how strategic manipulation has evolved over time, with its tactics and strategies adapting to changing circumstances. Consider, for instance, how propaganda was used during World War II to shape public opinion and mobilize support, or think about how corporate interests have historically manipulated public discourse on issues like climate change or trade agreements. These examples illustrate the enduring nature of strategic manipulation as a means of exercising power, one that has been employed by various actors across different eras. What's crucial to recognize is that strategic manipulation doesn't rely on overt deception or coercion. Instead, it involves creating an environment where certain ideas or policies become more acceptable than others. This can be achieved through tactics such as framing, spin doctoring, narrative crafting, and emotional appeals. The goal is to shape reality in ways that reinforce one's own interests or values without resorting to direct coercion. One of the most insidious aspects of strategic manipulation is its ability to create a sense of inevitability around certain outcomes. By shaping public perception and discourse, actors can make it seem as though a particular policy or decision is the only logical choice. This can be particularly effective in situations where people are already predisposed to support a particular ideology or agenda. Moreover, strategic manipulation often relies on exploiting existing biases, fears, and desires. Actors may tap into deep-seated anxieties about security, prosperity, or social status to shape public opinion. By doing so, they can create an environment where certain ideas or policies become more palatable than others. Ultimately, recognizing the mechanisms of strategic manipulation offers a nuanced perspective on power politics, one that acknowledges both its potential for abuse and its capacity for positive change. By grasping the subtleties of indirect control, we can begin to develop more effective strategies for promoting justice, equality, and human flourishing in all aspects of life. This nuanced understanding is particularly important when considering the cognitive limitations that govern our perceptions. When we account for these limitations, we can see how strategic manipulation can be employed to great effect. Think about it, people tend to simplify complex information and rely on narratives or heuristics to make decisions. A skilled manipulator can tap into those existing frameworks to shape public opinion, which is precisely what happens when politicians use rhetoric to sway public sentiment. In fact, this is where politicians might emphasize the importance of national security, tapping into people's primal fears and desires for protection. Alternatively, they might frame economic policy in terms of individual prosperity, appealing to people's aspirations for a better life. By doing so, they can create an atmosphere where certain policies or candidates become more attractive than others, even if those policies don't necessarily align with the greater good. But strategic manipulation isn't just the domain of politicians, it's also used by corporations, NGOs, and other organizations seeking to shape public opinion. These entities might employ social media campaigns to craft narratives around their products or causes, or they might sponsor research studies that reinforce their desired message. The key is to understand how people process information and then subtly nudge them in a particular direction, which can be achieved by grasping the subtleties of indirect control. Some might argue that strategic manipulation is inherently manipulative, even Machiavellian. While it's true that the use of subtle control can be problematic if used for nefarious purposes, I'd argue that recognizing the mechanisms of strategic manipulation offers a nuanced perspective on power politics, one that acknowledges both its potential for abuse and its capacity for positive change. By grasping the subtleties of indirect control, we can develop more effective strategies for promoting justice, equality, and human flourishing in all aspects of life. Moreover, we can learn to identify when manipulation is being used to further a particular agenda, and work to counterbalance those efforts with facts, evidence, and critical thinking. Furthermore, we can use our understanding of strategic manipulation to promote positive change, by crafting compelling narratives that inspire people to take action on behalf of the greater good. Ultimately, recognizing the power of strategic manipulation is not about condemning it as inherently bad, rather, it's about acknowledging its existence and using that knowledge to create a more just and equitable world. By doing so, we can harness the power of subtle control to promote positive change, and that, my friends, is the ultimate goal. This understanding is crucial in order to. As we delve deeper into the realm of strategic manipulation, it's essential to acknowledge that this type of influence is not limited to nefarious actors or malicious intentions. In fact, strategic manipulation can be a powerful tool for promoting positive change and fostering greater good. Furthermore, by understanding how narratives shape our perceptions and behaviors, we can craft compelling stories that inspire people to take action on behalf of the greater good. This highlights the importance of. One effective way to achieve this is by leveraging what social scientists call narrative resonance. This phenomenon refers to the deeply personal connection an individual makes with a story or message that resonates with their values, beliefs, and experiences. When a narrative strikes a chord within us, it can motivate us to take action in ways that are more profound and lasting than simple appeals to reason or logic. Moreover, this concept is. For instance, consider the story of Rosa Parks, who refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus in 1955, sparking the Montgomery bus boycott. Parks' courageous stand against segregation was not only a powerful act of defiance but also a narrative that resonated with millions of Americans who had suffered under Jim Crow laws. Her story became a symbol of resistance and resilience, inspiring countless others to join the fight for civil rights. This example illustrates. In this sense, strategic manipulation is not about deceiving or manipulating people but rather about tapping into their deepest values and aspirations by crafting narratives that resonate with our audience's experiences and emotions. This approach can create a shared sense of purpose and collective momentum that drives positive change. Furthermore, it underscores the need to consider. These complex issues require careful consideration and nuanced analysis. However, by acknowledging the power of strategic manipulation and using it to promote positive change, we can create a more just and equitable world, one where our actions are guided by compassion, empathy, and a deep understanding of human nature. This is particularly important when considering reality's shaping role, as it highlights the need for thoughtful consideration. As we explore the realm of strategic manipulation, it's essential to recognize that shaping reality is not a zero-sum game where one party gains at others' expense. Rather, it's a complex dance of influence where multiple actors vying for attention must navigate the intricate web of narratives, incentives, and available choices. This complexity underscores the importance of considering power dynamics. In this context, power is not just about wielding authority or controlling resources, it's also about crafting the narrative that underlies our understanding of the world. This is where framing comes into play, the art of presenting information in a way that highlights certain aspects while downplaying others. Framing can be used to mobilize public opinion, shape policy decisions, or even influence individual behavior. Moreover, framing is not a neutral process, it's deeply tied to issues of power and social justice. Those with greater access to resources, networks, and institutional support have the capacity to amplify their voices and shape the narrative in ways that reinforce their interests. Conversely, marginalized groups may struggle to be heard, as their perspectives are often overlooked or distorted. This dynamic highlights the need for a more inclusive approach to storytelling. To counterbalance this dynamic, we must ensure that the narratives we promote are genuinely reflective of the values and aspirations of all stakeholders, rather than being self-serving or manipulative. This requires a deep understanding of human nature, our biases, emotions, and motivations, as well as a commitment to empathy, compassion, and social justice. Furthermore, it necessitates a willingness to listen to and amplify marginalized voices. In essence, strategic manipulation is not about exploiting vulnerabilities or manipulating others for personal gain, rather, it's about harnessing the power of narrative to create positive change. By acknowledging the role of framing in shaping reality, we can work towards a more inclusive and equitable world, one where our actions are guided by a deep understanding of human nature and a commitment to the greater good. This nuanced approach to strategic manipulation requires a profound grasp of the psychological and social dynamics that underlie human behavior. It demands an empathetic understanding of the complex interplay between emotions, values, and motivations that drive decision-making. Furthermore, recognizing the inherent subjectivity of perception is crucial in designing narratives that resonate with diverse stakeholders, fostering a shared sense of purpose and collective action. In this way, strategic manipulation becomes an instrument for positive change, empowering individuals and organizations to work towards a common goal. As we explore the realm of strategic manipulation, it's essential to acknowledge that shaping reality is not a one-way street. Rather, it involves creating a shared understanding that enables collective action and cooperation. This recognition is critical in designing effective narratives. By recognizing the inherent subjectivity of perception, we can begin to design narratives that resonate with diverse stakeholders, fostering a shared sense of purpose and collective action. Moreover, this approach is not about imposing a singular vision or ideology, but rather about crafting a shared framework for understanding and collaboration, one that enables individuals and organizations to work together towards a common goal.